I love this scene, and it is the best destruction scene from any monster film ever made.
That was also my number 3.
Oh, it was? Haha.
Godzilla's final attack at Tokyo in the original Gojira. I completely agree with everything you said. I don't know if there's so much I can add to it. This to me is how to shoot any movie scene. The original Gojira is my filmmaking guidebook. And watching this destruction scene is how you shoot an emotional, just tragic, just horrific scene. And the low angles really make the whole thing work. And the grim tone, of course. If this film was in color, it wouldn't have worked. The black and white just creates this atmosphere of dread and death. And I was also going to bring up that scene you mentioned of the mother holding the two girls. It's really, I know why they cut it for the American version, and it's one of the most powerful moments in Godzilla history. It's a small moment, and that says something about it. And like you said, Akira Fukube's music is incredible. There's not much more I can say about it. It's incredible.
Alright. Yeah, I mean, there isn't really much else I could say about that either. I made sure I put everything down that I liked about that scene. I mean, it is truly, and I really meant what I said at the end, that it is the best destruction scene from any monster film ever made.
Oh, absolutely.
It is. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. So I guess, since your number 3 was the same as mine, on to number 2. My number 2 is Dr. Serizawa's death. Dr. Serizawa is my all-time favorite character to come from a Godzilla film. He is 3D, interesting, and a sympathetic character. Throughout the film, you feel for him. He loses his girlfriend and creates a weapon worse than the H-bomb. I love this guy. He is portrayed perfectly, and the eye patch only adds to his gruesome past. Just watching him look at the death and destruction while the choir prayers is heart-wrenching and nearly impossible to watch without fearing a tear fall from your eyes. It's no surprise that he kills himself at the ending, for he is the harbinger of the worst weapon man could ever create. And to save the world and his loved ones, he pays the ultimate sacrifice. He cuts his own lifeline so that the secret of the oxygen destroyer dies with him. I love how when he motions Ogata to be pulled up, that Ogata didn't expect it. Perhaps this was Ishiro Honda giving some kind of warning to the new generation of the old times, not to forget the sacrifices by their forefathers and the soldiers of World War II. Then Serizawa's final words just push me over the limits, and I choke up. They are, Ogata, it worked. Emiko and you be happy. Goodbye, farewell. It is then that he takes his own life. Now replace Ogata with Japan and Emiko with the world. Now it all makes sense. What Ishiro Honda's message is. The world must remember the past, but move forward. The world was angry at Japan, but now everyone must work together so that no world war shall ever happen again. A dark and deep ending to a dark, complex character. That's what I have to say about it. That's my number 2.
I'm not going to say anything about it because I'm going to get to it in a minute, but that's not my number 2. I decided to cop out with just favorites for my number 2. My number 2 is King Kong and Godzilla's battle scene. Mostly nostalgia. It's mostly just remembering Saturday mornings watching that movie with my brother. And my brother was always King Kong, and I was Godzilla. We used to beat the shit out of each other. I mean, I couldn't fill a bowl with how much nostalgia I have for that, just that fight scene in that movie. It's goofy, sure. There's, oh god, it's so well put together, and while you said it before, it's goofy. This is certainly not Eiji Sakurai's best work. It's my favorite Godzilla suit, though. But just the cleverness of the fight, the way it's put together, the way they exploit Kong and Godzilla's different battle, the way they both fight is so different that it's so interesting. And the longest Godzilla fights, I think. I've never clocked it out, but it rounds out to about 11 minutes. Wow, I never get bored watching that fight. It's so dynamic and it's got a lot of variety in it, and like you said earlier, it's goofy again, but I just love the crap out of it. It's a really fascinating fight, and two icons coming together to fight each other is just a spectacle to behold.
Yeah, as I said in our chat, I'm surprised you didn't come through the screen and kill me. It is on my least favorite Godzilla films. I really don't like Godzilla, King Kong vs. Godzilla. I mean, it's a satire, I don't really like it. The fight scene is entertaining, I will say that. I really like how it's on Mount Fuji.
Yes, yeah. It's got a really good backdrop for it. And again, if you read the script for Godzilla vs. Frankenstein, it's practically shot for shot. But even still, they exploit the way the two monsters fight differently, and it's really cool to see.
Cool.
So Adam,
yeah,
you're number one.
My number one pick, my favorite scene to come from any Godzilla film is the death of Godzilla in Godzilla vs. Destroyer. What else can I pick for my number one choice other than the death of the King of Monsters itself? First off, I will always stand firm at the fact that I think Godzilla vs. Destroyer is a far more suitable finale for the entire Godzilla franchise than Final Wars. It's dark, it ties with the first film, the characters are well drawn out, Akira Ifukube's score is breathtaking, the special effects are amazing, and everything with this film is done right. After an epic battle between adult Destroyer and a vengeful Godzilla, who not long before had lost his son to Destroyer, Godzilla's time had come. Once he reaches critical in his temperature, he begins to melt away in one of the saddest moments in cinema history. I bawled the first time I watched this. And every other time I view this film, I still do. My childhood, and even my adult icon, is dying right in front of me, and Akira Ifukube's track Requiem only makes it harder to watch without feeling a lump form in the back of your throat. Even allowing some of my friends to watch this film, they even felt that they understood why I love Godzilla so much. I also love how when the military is shooting at him, he turns and roars, almost like he's just saying, "Leave me alone." And you can't hear the roar. The only sound effect you hear is the music. I almost get a feeling that G wishes to die after the fight ends. He lost everything. His son is now dead, and the character we all love and know is coming to accept his own death. I love how even the people on screen are crying, even though in the last 5 films they are spent trying to kill him. It's like they know that Godzilla protected them and served as an anti-hero for Japan. Anyways, this scene always causes me to look back at my youth, and I always feel the lump in my throat. An appropriate ending to a character that all of us G fans love the most. That was my number one pick.
That was originally my number one. My number one, and I already talked about Godzilla's death scene. It's the death of the icon of my life. Oh man, one of the best, if not the best, ending to a film series ever.
And I just love that view of all of a sudden the tanks and everything just stops firing, and you just see like the energy of Godzilla just shooting up into the air. And you slowly see the silhouette of his body just sort of melt away.
Yeah, and wow, just seeing his bones melt away was really powerful. It was incredible. It beats out the death of Superman for me in terms of emotional weight. Also Godzilla puts up one of the most incredible fights he's ever put up against another monster in that scene. I mean, he just digs into Destroyer, Destroyer digs into him, blood flies everywhere. I mean, how often do we see chunks of Godzilla come out?
Yeah. And I mean, I think there's I think Godzilla has a reason why he wants to just friggin' kill Destroyer. I mean, he killed his son.
Yeah.
And I really like that line that, I believe Mickey said, and she goes, "He's weeping." and Godzilla's just walking, and you just see him like giving out like these slight higher pitched roars, and he doesn't understand why it happened to him.
Yeah.
I mean, just recently watching it, I cried. I admitted that the entire scene with Godzilla Jr.'s death and Godzilla's death, I was bawling the entire way through it. I mean, this is one of those films. This film and Peter Jackson's remake, The King Kong, are the two films that seems like nearly every time I watch it, I cry.
Yeah. This is going to sound weird, but I prefer this over Kong's death.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
There's just so much more emotional weight to it.
It's a very powerful scene, because you're literally seeing, as I said, a childhood icon, but yet I still consider Godzilla an icon. So,
oh yeah, he's an icon of my life.
Just seeing him die is just seeing a rubber. It's funny because whenever I show this to friends, or whenever I talk to Godzilla about friends and I mention this scene and that I cry, they're like, "Adam, you're crying over a man in a rubber lizard suit dying." And then I showed it to a few of my friends and they're like, "Oh my God, Adam, I get it."
Yeah. There's never a moment where I watch that film and go, "Oh yeah, that's a guy in a rubber suit falling to bits." No, that's a creature. A creature I've seen develop, change, exist over decades, over my entire life. And now he's dying right in front of me.
It's a very, as I said, I don't care really how much you like Godzilla Final Wars. If this was how the Godzilla series, the entire Godzilla franchise, should have ended.
Yep, I agree. Well, Final Wars is just, the fighting is good. The story's crap, but wow, I mean, Godzilla vs. Destroy yeah, I agree. Again, the best ending to a film series. So my number one? My favorite and most memorable moment in Godzilla history is the death of Dr. Serizawa, the first death of Godzilla, aka, to me, Godzilla vs. the Oxygen Destroyer from the original Gojira. This, to me, embodies my statement that Akira Ifukube's score can carry an entire scene. And not to say that the cinematography and what happens is also powerful, but that score has become a staple of Godzilla fans and how they call Akira Ifukube one of the greatest composers of all time. And that one score, Godzilla Under the Sea, is just wow. And of course, seeing Godzilla in pain and writhing on the floor, and this is before he was that iconic hero, or he had developed. He's still just an idea. He's still just a symbol. And it truly is the death of, or not really the death of, like you're talking about, the symbolic, we've got to move on now. It's dead. It's done. We must join together and fight the common threats. We can't all live in our own worlds anymore. Godzilla is the perfect threat to use for that idea. As the last narration said, citizens of the world, Godzilla is dead. Let us now go and rebuild our destroyed land. It sounds identical to what happened at the end of World War II.
That's from the American version, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, but
I think Dr. Yamane is better. It's more of a darker tone, and that is his quote is, "Unless we stop these nuclear tests, another